is looking forward to an upcoming overnight trip in March.
Where to? Do you know?
We're going to Great Wolf Lodge and Golden Corral and Macedon Water Park.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
In March.
March 13th.
Wow. Cool. Do you have any questions?
No.
No? It's good. I appreciate you stepping up to the plate, and hopefully it'll look good on a resume, right?
I hope so.
And you'll have opportunities to do other things with this board, which I hope you're able to take advantage of too. So it's good to have you on board. I think we're voting on you later, so you actually will show up in the minutes, just so you know.
Your name will be official.
You'll be officially.
Yes.
Vote for me.
Yay for you.
And we'd like to also extend a special thank you for
that's
Skylar
Scott.
Culbertson for serving as our
Real.
2019 rep.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're going to miss you, Skylar. Also know this, while we would love for you to stay and enjoy the school board meeting, don't feel like you're ever under any pressure to stay if you have things you need to do. Right? We don't want this to be your excuse, like if you're not doing well on your tests or anything. So, just kidding. So
You'll be fine.
you'll be fine, and if you do need to go, you just need to do so. And if you want to stay, we'd love to have you.
Thank you.
Yep. Any questions? Thank you. Donations?
Yes, I would like to share with the board gifts that were donated by the businesses and community members to the staff holiday party that was held on December the 20th. So I have the list up
Oh, this
here.
looks great.
So Ballard's donated a gift bag. RPK and Bar Francis, the corner store, donated a gift certificate for $25. Beach Spring Gifts donated a gift bag. Central Coffee Roasters donated 2 bags of coffee. Eastwood Nurseries donated a $50 gift certificate. The Griffin Tavern donated a gift certificate for $50. Normado Winery donated 2 wine tastings for $4. Off the Grid donated 2 $25 gift certificates with gift bags. Home Economics Wireless, they donated a wireless speaker. Pepperberries donated a gift bag. Pinnacles donated a $10 gift certificate. Scoop on Davis donated a gift certificate. The Green Roost donated a gift certificate. Gymni Artisan donated a gift bag. And Sarah Moore's horticulture class donated a flower arrangement. Grey Ghost Winery donated 18 wine tastings.
Wow.
And Abracadabra Massage and Wellness donated a gift certificate. So we had a lot of
Great
gifts. Mhm.
That's great. All right, we'll accept those gladly during the consent agenda. Is there a motion concerning the adoption of the minutes for December 10th and December 20th meetings?
So moved.
I have a motion from Ms. Bynum. Is there a second?
Second.
From Ms. Meyer. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no? And so ordered. Mr. Grove, did you have a chance to review the bills?
I did. It's a new format.
New format, it's a new tool?
It
A
is.
new tool.
Power School Finance is up. And
Power
it's
School
much.
Finance.
So you remember we were using an old antiquated system called RDA, and it was very antiquated. So it was very difficult. And this drives with our student information processing system, and it pulls all our reports together really nicely. So yeah, it's a Power School system.
It's much easier to read it.
Oh, good, good.
And to scan down.
And I'm told it's much easier to process the bills when they go through accounts payable, so that's really nice too.
So I guess as far as the school year goes though, we have half of our fiscal year in one system, half of our fiscal year in another.
It's all been.
It's all been migrated?
Yes,
Good,
yes,
good.
yes, it's all been. Yes.
Great, thanks.
And all looks well.
Thank you, Larry. All right, is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
So moved.
We have a motion from Mr. Groves. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Bynum. All in favor, aye? Aye, opposed, no? And so ordered. Madam Superintendent.
Thank you so much. All right, so the report we have today, this evening rather, is the informational budget that I give every year. We're just starting out, so there's really not very much we know at this point, other than what the governor has proposed. And there's still quite a ways to go before that's finalized. So right now, this is our beginning stages of planning, so we'll just go through what those numbers look like. what that impact will be to us and how, what are the next steps and things in the budget planning process. So state revenues are comprised of these different categories of funding. So you have your standards of quality, which is your program funding, state funding for specific areas of instruction. You have incentive programs, categorical funding, and lottery funded programs. All of those kind of filter through a state formula that we all lovingly know is the local composite index. Ours has changed this year, and it has increased back up to a 0.79, and we were at 0.7642, I believe, for this year. So that change means if your local composite index goes up, usually your local ability to pay for the costs of educating your students goes up with that. So you get less state aid. So that's usually problematic for us. We had been pretty nervous about how that would look. So I'll kind of go through what that did when we ran the governor's proposed budget through the local composite index. All right, so here's our revenue estimates on our SOQ programs. These are based on an ADM of 780. So yes, we're going down again. This year's budget was based on 825.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and the state, I think, even has us projected even lower than that, which they typically do. They do estimate us usually about 15, 20 students lower than what actually usually appears on our March 31st ADM. So that's what we're basing this on. So you can see there, no major changes to SOQ, other than, I mean, basic aid went down, and that's what we expected to see with, you know, the local composite index adjustment. Okay. So when you look through all those, we're seeing in SOQ accounts $78,965 less than we received last year in that category. Okay. But then in incentive programs, we saw something pretty exciting actually. We've been part of the mixed delivery grant project with CCLC and other child care providers, and part of that was due to the, well, largely due to the Head Start being reallocated elsewhere based on our numbers. So one of our advocacy points through that mixed delivery grant this year was to hopefully get VPI reinstated, which is your Virginia Preschool Initiative funding. We had that for 1 year, and it was a pretty minuscule amount. It didn't even cover half of a teacher. And I think it was about $12,000 the first year we had it, and then the very next year it was taken away from Rappahannock, and we didn't have access to the funding source anymore. So they have reinstated it. I think we've shown that we do have numbers that do qualify, and also that our free and reduced lunch population has come up so much too, so that's an indicator. And then there was additional monies at the state level given to preschool and VPI expansion and things like that, so I think that's why we're seeing that funding source, and also a little bit of money for early childhood. So games of skill, we got some money there too. That was our pilot of our video gaming.
Oh, the video game.
They gave us some money to cover the technology cost for that.
Oh, that's good.
Yes, which is actually going pretty well from what I hear. All right, so incentive accounts, we saw an increase of about $14,720. Categorical programs, increase of $5,095. State revenue, this was exciting to see, and I think this is part of that agenda with lottery funded. The K-3 primary class size reduction I've highlighted there, because that's something we've wanted as well, and that's a priority area that's come up with the staff, especially when we're looking at reading, literacy, and early childhood development, especially with a needier population usually. You want those numbers lower. as low as it can make sense. And we were pushing some of our numbers upwards of 23, 24 in those grade levels, which is really difficult when you have to differentiate so much. And even our preschool class, we're at capacity, and there were some children that were waitlisted, but then CCLC was able to pick up others in First Step and then find other fundraising sources. So I do know that we've been able to provide for all of our at-risk 4-year-olds, which has been wonderful.
What is that number? Around?
Altogether, we'll give, that comprehensive report will be next
Okay.
month when we do
Okay.
that. I'm not sure what their final
Right.
number was, but in our class, we have 19.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So that was good to see. Supplemental Basic Aid did go up,
Now, how did that happen?
because when our LCI adjusted, it's a difference.
Oh, right, because
And we-
they took us out last time.
Right, well, we were in there, but because it went down, we lost some money there. And now, because we piggyback on Madison, the Madison agreement does that for us. So now there's a bigger difference.
Yep.
So that's where you see.
Oh, that was good.
Mhm.
That's a lifesaver.
It is. So total lottery funding saw an increase of 115,000. So overall, state revenue, we're not as bad off starting out as we originally thought we would be with the LCI adjustment. So we're starting 56,348 in the black.
That's great.
It's
That was
good.
scary. Yeah, that was scary.
Yes, but
Yeah, we need to.
Oh, yeah, I knew
But-
that was somebody.
there's still a lot more cost to what the governor has proposed. So a lot of the compensation supplement for the required 3% increase for teachers and, well, all SOQ professionals, that doesn't come to us until the second year. And even then, it's a very low amount compared to the cost of giving the 3% raise. Additional guidance counselor staff is in there too. It doesn't cover that. So there's some things we're going to have to tweak and work out to figure out how we're going to pay for that. And the 52,000 increase for Virginia Preschool Initiative, that has to be used for preschool. So you can't.
Can't budget.
Yes. And we'll talk more about options for preschool at next month's meeting, where we give an actual update about our mixed delivery partnership and the collaboration, First Step, everything we found out, scenarios, what we, and that will be a joint meeting between both boards, where we get to make some decisions together as a community about, what our responsibility is to our kids in preschool and our families.
Again.
Yes. Federal funding, that makes up a portion of our budget as well, and those projections are based on the previous year. This time last year, I did have some preliminary numbers from the state. This year, they're not releasing those until later next week. And even then, they're very preliminary. The actual numbers don't even come out until usually August, where we get that. And then they amend them, and we have to change them again. So, yes. So, and then we reconcile those differences in the supplemental appropriations process with the county, and we've been working on trying to make that as smooth as possible, so we'll continue to do that. So here, everything is just keeping the way it was this year, so no differences there. I'm sure there will be, we just don't know what they are yet, so for planning purposes, I didn't see anything in the legislation or anything that was going to, it looked like it would be anything earth-shattering in the federal money, but it could happen. So we'll keep an eye on that. So our projected revenue summary is here. So a change of 56,348 for our state. Federal, I'm putting 0 here, but I'm not sure what that will be until I get preliminary numbers. And then there's just a lot to be determined as we walk through this process. So this is just very preliminary. Variables that affect budget planning, there's a lot of them, like health insurance. We won't know that usually until about March, what that will be. In this budget, I think we're going to work with a number of 8%. But we've been working really hard on our staff wellness policy and things like that. So our health insurance has been 0% increase for the last 3 years. Yeah. So hopefully we can continue that. That would be wonderful, but we have to plan for adjustments. So General Assembly, Finance Committees, House and Senate, that these numbers will have to funnel through that process as well. They'll make amendments, adjust before we get a final budget from the state. Staff intent forms will be going out this week, and that really gives us an idea of what our staff intends to do for next year. And that is a big piece of the planning puzzle, because you need to know who you're replacing, if people are leaving, movements and things like that. Actual allocations for state and federal funds, so we have to wait for those numbers. Actual ADM and fall enrollment, those things we don't know. So, see, isn't this fun? It's like the whole budget process is all conjecture until even until after it's built. So it's kind of best guess, informal. Budget priorities that we have identified so far. The central office and the staff at the schools, these are the areas that are critical. Profile of graduate work, we want to continue with that. Everybody seems to feel like it's the right conceptual framework. It's also what our strategic plan is built around. And we are making great gains with that, so we'll continue to meet that mandate. Early childhood is a big deal, and we're seeing the effects of that through what we've been working through the mixed delivery grant project, and there's just a really big push at the state right now to invest in early education, and showing the payoff later in less human resources and monetary resources, and the benefit for the children is huge. So that's what we'll be looking at. That is a priority in this area, and for the superintendent anyway, in the superintendent's budget. Teacher staff raises, we do believe, is very, very important. For Rappahannock, we have fallen behind a little bit. We did really well last year with going above the state increase, and with a 3% over 2 years, we don't really think that's enough for teachers. So we'll talk more about what we think we should do with that. And I know there's a lot of advocacy across the state, and other superintendents, NAS, and the Coalition of Small and Rural Schools is really pressing for teacher raises and more compensation supplement money given for that.
There's no requirement from the state at this point for that. They're not, we fulfilled our requirement?
No, it's starting over. This is a new biennial. So 3% over the next 2 years.
Over the next 2, right.
Yes.
So there's a requirement.
There is, yes. And that could change. It's been adjusted before. So we'll just watch what the House and Senate committees do. They may increase it, they may say, no, we can't do it, who knows. So until that point, but that's the mandate, that you have to base everything off of. You have to go with whatever they say.
Right.
For SOQ, and SOQ pretty much ties in all of your staff. Now, the benefit for us, because of our local composite index, is when they have a lower mandate, we can separate out a little bit what we want to do with compensation. So, say we think teachers, as a standalone group, should get a higher increase, then we can do SOQ for everyone else and try to boost teachers to be comparable to the market. So, there's certain scales you have to adjust like that sometimes. So that gives us a little more flexibility. So. Becoming trauma-informed is a big push. We've seen more children in recent years in trauma and experiencing some really difficult things. The social worker has been instrumental and has been great, and we'll be updating you through the budget process on what those numbers actually look like. And it's very compelling. So we're going to continue that work to become more trauma-informed. The Community Priorities Survey became active today. This is when we start that, so we're asking the community as well to weigh in on what they feel is most important in the budget, in the school budget this year. It's very quick, it's just 3 questions, and it gives us a lot of information very quickly. And we had a great return on that survey last year, so I anticipate we will this year too.
And people can get to that through our website and through the Facebook page?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Or probably a hard copy somewhere.
If they want one, yes, they can request a hard copy too. Mm-hmm. Now, board priorities too, this is when we can meet, we can do that in our regular meetings as well, but also in a work session that we have scheduled the 21st?
21st, next Tuesday?
Next Tuesday. So you can...
6:30?
Yes, at the school board office. So that's just a chance to go through and digest whatever we have and talk as a board about what you feel is priority areas, and you can give direction to me and Stacy as we work on building the budget when you feel it gives us a sense of your direction.
Will we have the survey by that time?
We'll have some, but it doesn't close until February 8th, I think, so. Okay. And that's really all we have at this point for the budget.
I was going to ask, are there any new requirements from the state at this point that we know of? So if they give us money, typically there's strings attached. Is there new strings?
They were going back and forth. The big one was the reducing the counselor to student ratio. So they did end up putting that in. So the mandate doesn't take effect and the money therefore doesn't come with it till the second year. But you kind of want to plan for that. So the ratio is 250 to 1.
That's the goal.
Yes, the goal. So one counselor for every 250 students.
Huh.
And that's, I mean, our ratio is currently at that. So we've met that ahead of time. We thought that was okay. What it doesn't do is give us flexibility, and this is another talking point the superintendents have been working on it. Guidance counselors are, have a particular role, and there's other areas like social work and behavior intervention and other specialists that way that kind of fit under the counselor category, but this is very specific to just school guidance counselors.
Right.
So we were asking for some flexibility in that language that would say, under the counseling umbrella, because different schools need different, we have a lot of advising capacity here, so do I need more advising guidance, or do I need more specialized, so it ties your hands a little bit in your staffing.
Over the last 20 years,
Mhm.
the role of a guidance counselor changed dramatically
Yes.
because of the standardized testing and tracking all of that, and the guidance counselors picked up a lot of different roles that they didn't used to have to deal with, and so it diminished their original role, so it's probably a response to that,
I believe it
to
is.
increase
Yes.
the ratio. I'm glad we're already at that.
Yes. Yeah, so that makes it's
That's
already
good.
built in, so that's one area. That's really the big one, and then the rest has been really invested into early childhood and making sure we're doing that correctly.
Which we are.
Yeah,
So we're ahead of the ball there.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's very nice to see the BPI coming back, because that gives us some
Yes.
additional funding to do that.
Yeah, that Madison agreement's a good value.
It is, for sure. Any questions?
Any questions?
When I know more,
It's,
everyone know more?
It's big at this point.
But, I mean, last year, the first work session, we accomplished a lot because we basically had a conversation about, what are the remaining moving parts and what are the priorities of the board? And that's what we need to be prepared for next Tuesday is what are our priorities as a board that we're trying to communicate. So,
Exactly. And we'll have some numbers for you on what the increases will cost. If 8% is the cost, this is what it will cost. So when we say these are board priorities, well, here's the cost of what we need to do. So how do we find and what are the creative ideas that?
And the priority may be to keep things that we already have.
Well, yeah.
I mean, as opposed to
What's working? What?
reducing the services that we have right now.
Mhm.
right.
And
And we'll be there to reinforce that.
Mhm.
And that'll start next Tuesday.
Yes.
And are we announcing our other meeting?
Yes, we're scheduling, we've been talking about that for a while, and I did mention it at the Board of Supervisors meeting last week too, that we want to have a kind of a budget strategies meeting with Mr. Curry, myself, and a member or two from each board, just to talk about these challenges that we have and what the state has that we have to do and how are we going to meet it. And there are some challenges on the horizon, especially one that we're seeing right now. Carol and I were just discussing this week and almost had a crisis moment, but with the Medicaid, our Medicaid denials keep coming back. So, and these are services that you have to have in school-based services. So how do you find the money for those that are required when they're being rejected by Medicaid? So that money has to come from somewhere. And what we were calculating could be if our caseload gets much bigger, a full-time person, rather than contracting. So, I mean, that's a big deal, and it shouldn't be that way. So those are things we have to talk about. And DSS has been integrally involved, and we're trying to access as much funding that way through the state as we can, but for services, and yeah.
Now, that meeting right now is, that meeting is designed to have 2 school board members and 2 supervisors and or 2 administrators. And the public is welcome, right? It's the 28th, which is also a Tuesday, from 5 to 7, I think is what I saw. But the dilemma is, when more board members show up, it would get complicated, right? Because then we got to have an official meeting, and we can't have a meeting, right? So the goal was just to have more of an informal discussion about what were the concerns and raise the knowledge across boards, and then bring that information back to this board. And that's kind of what we're thinking there. I think Larry and I are currently planning on being at the 28th, unless I'm traveling, in which case we'll call somebody to take my place.
Where is this one?
School board office, 5 o'clock on the 28th of January, Tuesday, right? And so the public wants to come, they're welcome to come. I don't think we're designing a time of public comment because it's not an official meeting. It won't be an agenda. We'll simply be having a discussion, a roundtable discussion, or challenges and approaches. Right?
Will you take minutes for those of us who aren't there, or we'll have some kind of a synopsis?
You know, I'm trying to take some notes.
That would be great.
Take some notes.
We should all know.
I'm picturing somebody showing up with a video camera.
Don't have a video camera.
Video. No, I'm sure somebody will be there with a video camera, and you'll be able to watch the video too.
Well, I'd rather just.
Probably.
I'd rather just know what your brains
Somebody.
think is most important.
Well, just call me.
Yeah, I'll call you.
Yeah, it's a good point, though. Yeah, we should take some notes.
Yeah, you just.
Good, so thank you very much. A lot of mysteries still, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
At this point, yes.
Waiting for the big surprise.
And that concludes my reports.
Thank you very much. Do we have a Headwaters report tonight?
I don't have any report for this time.
Okay. MBGS?
We meet this Thursday.
Okay, no. Okay, informational items. You saw the VSBA Code of Conduct that was attached in the to the agenda. And basically, if anybody's wondering what that is, it basically says that we'll do our jobs and we'll behave ourselves.
Yes.
That's all of this. There's 12 points here. That's basically the summation of it, and just says, you know, we'll be polite and professional, and we always have the interests of the children, the welfare of the community at heart. So we'll be voting on this code of conduct and signing it.
It's online somewhere, if somebody wants to read it.
Yeah, it's online.
It's on the.
It's the standard VSBA code of conduct. Of course, the alternative is we go off for a day training cycle to Charlottesville and we write our own, which nobody seems to want to do. So,
No.
plus it costs money to do that.
No, we're not.
We don't want to do that. So. All right. Your statement of economic interest have to be to Amy before when?
It's
February
February
3rd.
1st, but since that's on a Saturday, it's the 3rd.
31st of January.
I'm sorry, no, the 1st
3rd
of
of
February.
The 3rd of February. So they're
But
due to
they
Amy
moved
by
it
the
to the
3rd of
3rd.
February, right? So you don't have those to her to get them in.
That's a $250 fine, too.
$250 fine.
Encourage you to get it in.
Yeah, don't forget this one.
She just keeps them, and if they ask for them, then we surrender them, but
Yeah.
anyway.
It is what it is.
Yep, public comment. Does anybody like to address the board this evening? Yes, Gary.
Gary H. Hampton, and I'm here on behalf of Headwaters. Just to give you a little update, our representative is diligent and always on the ball, but things have been a little, with the holidays and everything, and stuff is happening, I thought you might just want to hear about it. The past 6 months have been busy for Headwaters. We updated our bylaws, we moved our offices to the Washington School, we elected new officers, and we hope to be able to announce a new executive director in 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks.
The search committee has met, the recommendation has been forwarded, the chair has been delegated to negotiate the contract, to have it to the board by next Monday's board meeting on which we'll vote, and hopefully by Tuesday, or we left. By Tuesday, we may have some news that we can announce to the community. But what I'm here to say is that we're looking forward to, we also approved our new strategic plan with our new strategic goals. So the past 6 months have been busy, and we are hopeful that the next 6 months will show some real energy and activity. I should report to you, if you didn't already know it, that you have a very ambitious, aggressive, creative, initiative-taking, proactive superintendent. And if we had any hope of resting, they're gone, because the first month of this new year has seen about 4 or 5 initiatives that we are reviewing, and hopefully, consistent with Headwaters' strategic plan, we are committed to investing more of Headwaters' resources to actually aid students and advance education than simply be invested for the future. So we're hopeful that in this collaboration with a dynamic staff, not just the superintendent, but the staff, that we will continue to see proposals sent our way from teachers and Jenny Caps, among others, and there are many. And when they're worthy, we hope we will be able to be a part of the funding that will augment what the citizens of Rappahannock can afford to pay for their children's education. So just bring that to you, and we will probably, you'll hear some more things as time progresses, but there's some very exciting programs, initiatives that are already under consideration, and we look forward to working with the school. And for me, the whole reason for this is so that our students benefit, and that every opportunity, every enrichment opportunity, every additional educational opportunity that we can possibly provide while they're here in this county, we want to see that they get. So, thank you for your time, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Gary. We're very fortunate to have Headwaters.
And now I need to run because the choir director at my church only gave me so much free time to come talk to you.
I know.
And seeing how I'm married to her, I really have to take that. I don't want you to think that I'm speaking and running, but thank you
It's good
again.
to have you here, Gary, and thank everybody at Headwaters. We're very fortunate to have a relationship with you all. Anyone else? All right, is there any comment related to the budget 2021? Does anybody have any comments about the budget that you'd like to share with us? Ideas? Buried treasure in the county? No? Okay. All right, moving on then to action items. Is there a motion to approve the 2020 meeting calendar?
So moved.
We have a motion, Ms. Bynum. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Grove. Is there any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. It's order approval of student liaison Nova, what's Nova's last name? Carrero. Is there a motion to approve Nova Carrero as the student liaison 2020?
So moved.
We have a motion, Mr. Grove. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Bynum. Any discussion? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. So ordered. Is there a motion to approve the VSBA Code of Conduct for our board?
So moved.
We have a motion from Ms. Bynum. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Ms. Meyer. Is there any discussion? It's a good thing to have.
It's good to have you.
It's a good thing to have.
Good
You
reminder.
had it, it's good.
We do this every year?
Yes.
We do it every year.
We don't really need it.
Yes,
We don't really need to do it every year.
We don't need
It's
to
a
do it,
good-
but that's all right.
Well, we need
But
to
we
do it.
do it.
We do.
You do.
You're so nice, it doesn't matter.
We do have a motion on the table, right? Did we already
We
do
were
that?
at
Yeah,
second.
and a second, and we're discussing it?
All in favor?
This was discussion, right?
This was
I just couldn't remember back far enough if we actually had a motion. So we do. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. So order, our next regularly scheduled meeting is, I think, it's listed right here,
10th or something.
the 11th of February.
Ooh, that's not correct. It's
That's not
actually in the
correct.
high school auditorium,
Uh-oh,
because it's
sorry.
the public, the joint meeting.
It's the joint
Of
meeting.
course, yes.
All right, so
We'll fix
February the
that.
Sorry
11th
about
will
that.
be in the auditorium,
Mhm.
and it will be a joint meeting.
It will be.
We didn't do that last year.
We did. And this one will, that's where we'll give the presentation. We have
All right.
two planned, one for the preschool update, because we have to make some decisions, also to share some very important Pride Survey data with you from our students, and it's about the, social, emotional health of our population.
Okay. And the work session that's happening a week from today, the 21st at 6:30, and of course the meeting on the 28th, which is not an agenda called meeting, but is a discussion, a roundtable with both boards present. We have a motion to go into closed session. Mr. Grove?
I move the board convene closed session for the following purpose: to discuss and consider the appointment of staff members for administrative, classified, and coaching positions, resignation of a classified position, and discussion of the superintendent's goals pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711A1.
Thank you, Larry. We have a motion, Mr. Grove. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Meyer. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. So we're in closed session. So we'll take a recess. We're going to be in closed session for 30 minutes, probably 30 minutes, in case you want to hang around. And if you don't, we'll be coming out of closed session. We'll be voting on the personnel report. And